What's up, everybody? We are back for another Dear Critics review. This week or today rather, we are looking at quarter two of 2021, and we've got a big, huge quarter. We're kind of late this time, so we're looking at a bunch of games. I've got with me Jeff Wofford here from the league. Jeff, how you doing today, bud?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. It's been a great week.
Awesome. Yeah, we have a lot to get into. Like I said, I just sort of, you might can tell from behind me, I recently went through a move and had to, just was sort of without internet and without a bunch of things for a while. So I had to bump out the review. So we're actually going to be looking at games past just quarter two. So we're going to be looking at games that came out recently in July, such as Death's Door, kind of the indie gem here recently. But first, Jeff, if you'll indulge me real quick, we're gonna go down just the rankings as it currently sits here around mid-year. And Alex is having a great year so far. Jersey Recon Studios, 94 points currently. I've got the Jeff. By the way, I've got what's it what's it called? Excuse me. The advanced projections, pardon me there, the advanced projections turned on when you look at the projected on the left column. But
Yeah.
Alex is sitting there at number one. Number two, newcomer Nate McKeever beat down games, sitting there with 47 points. Third place, Boomstick Syndicate, 44 points. And fourth place, her husband, Eddie, Crystal Cross Games, has 39 points. Adam, the second newcomer, Bearded Brethren, coming in with fifth, 37 points for him. In sixth place is Marshall M. Powerful, 28 points. Seventh place, yours truly, Doug's Vest Digital, with only 8 points. Behind that is Wolfpack Initiative, minus 7.9. And then bringing up the rear, Lou King Games, minus 10.9. Bit of a rough year so far, Jeff. We'll get into your team in just a moment. We'll run down everything. But first, we've got, like I said, a lot of games that came out this last quarter. So let's run down all the games that we're going to be talking about sort of this week. First, we have Outriders, Oddworld Soulstorm, Nier Replicant, Returnal, New Pokemon Snap, Resident Evil Village, Biomutant, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Guilty Gear Strive, Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance, Scarlet Nexus, Mario Golf Super Rush, Disgaea 6 Defiance of Destiny, Monster Hunter Stories 2 Wings of Ruin, Chris Tales, Death's Door, Neo The World Ends With You, The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, The Ascent, and Blaster Master 03. Whew. All right, Jeff. A lot of games there, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I said, we're going to cover more than just Q2. Real quick, let's just, like we usually do, we sort of run down the guest team first. So looking at Wolfpack this year, tell us how you're feeling at the end of Q2 and sort of where you're sitting at.
Well, so Ratchet and Clank came out, and I'm like, man, I might still be in this. And then unfortunately, D&D Dark Alliance followed that up, right? I think like a week afterwards, and I think I was right back to where I started, which is negative. So I'll be honest, I don't know that a championship is in the cards this year. Especially, oh my gosh, especially with Alex's huge lead. That's insane. But I'd like to get positive. I do think I've got some titles that are coming out. I know. I think there's a lot of us who still have a lot of games still to come, and even still have more than half of his games still left to go. So there's a lot at the back end of this year, especially some bigger titles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm looking at your roster, and I'm seeing, of course, your number one draft pick, Ratchet and Clank, really came through for you. It's the highest rated game so far of the year, 88. So I guess you really can't be sad about that in any way. Unfortunately, your second round pick, Gotham Knights, got delayed into 2022.
Yeah.
But 12 minutes is a really interesting game where I think you could really get some solid points. So that's the upcoming, I don't know if you would call it an indie game, but voiced by Daisy Ridley and Willem Dafoe. Help me out. Who's the main lead actor? James McAvoy.
Oh yeah.
So
I just remember it had some crazy voice talent. I think it could still be considered an indie game. It's definitely a smaller development studio that's working on it, but it looks like they put a lot of work into it, and there's some more hype behind it, I think, than a normal indie studio because of the voice actors.
yeah, I feel like you could really, that one could bust out, I guess, like over 90 even is kind of what
Yeah.
I'm thinking. When I'm looking at your roster, I don't know, is Shovel Knight still on track for this year? Shovel Knight Dig?
There has been no information, so I don't think it's looking very good at this
Hmm.
point. But they've not officially announced that it's not coming out this year.
Yeah. Yeah. So last one I want to talk about on your team, Starmancer. Help me out with this game. What is this game? I know nothing about Starmancer.
So it's essentially RimWorld meets Stardew Valley is how the people have described it. It's just a team of two guys, but the publishing studio is the same guys that have done things like Stardew Valley and things like that. They produced a lot of hit indie games, and it's just a star base simulator, but it looks really interesting. If you check out the website, their website is actually hilarious.
Okay.
Lots of really cool little tidbits there. It's one I think they've been working on it for 4 years, and again, it's an indie title, but I think it looks pretty good. I think it's going to score at least decently, and it could be a big hit, just like Stardew Valley was.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully that, along with Guardians of the Galaxy, Evil Dead, the game, Diablo 2, is that still on track for 2021?
It is, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Hopefully all those will be reviewed well, despite some of the Activision Blizzard stuff going on. We won't go into that. But let's flip over to my team. Kind of equally as we'll say boring, maybe, just not a lot of going on for me. I've had one game release in the last quarter, and that's Mario Golf Super Rush, which came out to a 71. So only
Yeah.
netted me 1 point. Can't really get excited about that. Obviously, I was hoping for a bit of a Nintendo bump there, hoping for something at least around 80. So kind of disappointed about Mario Golf. Have you had a chance to dip your toes into this one at all?
I actually haven't. Mario Golf is a series that we actually play a lot of in our household, and I'll be totally honest, the review scores kind of scared me off a little bit, especially you talk about the Nintendo bump. Nintendo prices that tends to be hard to find those on sale, so we'll probably pick it up on sale, but it may be a while before that happens.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on from our somewhat sad teams here at the bottom of the league, and let's look at some actual good teams here. So we'll just work our way down the roster. I'm just going to start from the top of the site here, and looking at Luke. Luke King Games. He's got no releases this quarter, so equally as quiet. I guess the thing to talk about with Luke's team is that Starfield, the much anticipated games from Bethesda, finally got a date this past E3. I wouldn't say it was delayed, but it got a date of November of next year. So no Starfield for Luke. Real quick, Starfield, what's your gauge on this, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. Looking especially at where Luke has it, and I think where a lot of us are. I don't know that anybody really expected it to come out this year, but if it had, I think the expectation is it's going to do well. This seems to me like Skyrim or Fallout in space is what they're going for, and that definitely seems to be kind of a tried and true, I guess, platform or format for Bethesda.
Yeah, I think Starfield will certainly be one of the first round games to get when it comes to next year's draft.
Definitely.
I think one thing that's interesting about what they did with Starfield is that they gave it an exact specific release date, which I think indicates that they know the game's going to be done way before then, and it's just all polish and icing on the cake kind of thing at that point.
Yeah, with the Bethesda game, that's actually nice because that's one of the things that I think they've not done in the past. I mean, I remember Fallout 4 when they announced it, the release date was like, oh my gosh, that's soon. And then typical Bethesda game, a lot of bugs. So having extra time to work on all of that stuff will be, I think, even better for Starfield.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Moving on to Crystal Cross Games. A trio of interesting games he had this quarter, and the first one we'll talk about is Outriders, the Square Enix published, sort of online service shooter game that
Yeah.
was day one Game Pass and really had quite the buzz around it in gaming circles. Only got him 3.73, so reviews sort of came down to earth a little bit. Have you had a chance to try Outriders yet, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, big Xbox gamer, so Game Pass is amazing. I like to try a lot of the big stuff. Also, I'm a huge Destiny 2 fan. That's still where most of my time goes,
Hmm.
and I think a lot of people thought of this as like something to compete with that. When you look at the score, I think one thing that I'm going to try to consider moving forward with this whole idea of games as service and this whole genre that's come out there is, man, a lot of these games release actually kind of poor. And then, I mean, Destiny is a great example, just improved and improved over time. I played for a couple of weeks and honestly kind of dropped it just because Destiny is a bigger draw for me. But some of my friends who are continued player are like, man, you got to come back and check it out, like a month, after it's been released, it's way better. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think if it came out today, it might review even higher than 73. I just think this games of service is this idea that, we're going to release a game that's almost pseudo unfinished.
I feel like the general feeling around maybe it's a little fair. I feel like the general feeling amongst gamers is that it is better than a 73. I feel like the excitement level is higher than what the score here is, and that they really had some sort of magic there that they just needed to refine a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, moving on for Eddie, we had Oddworld Soulstorm, which was a PlayStation Plus launch game when it came out for PS5, only getting a 71. So again, kind of a whimper there for Eddie. And then lastly, another Game Pass game. Again, Microsoft is starting to hit that stride, I think, with these releases. The Ascent. Again, not quite what you want at 74, but I think some good positive buzz surrounding this game. So, Jeff, I believe you said pre-show that you have played some of this one as well. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, and I think when you look at that, Outriders and Oddworld are probably disappointing in how low they scored. I mean, I think when you look at where people expected Ascent, I think that's probably right where it's expected. I honestly downloaded this just because it's couch co-op and there's not a lot of this. So I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I'm going to share I'm a little bit disappointed, and the only reason why is because I thought, man, this is awesome. I'm going to play this with my I've got my teenage son. I've also got my nephew living with us for this year. They're both the same age. I thought this is gonna be awesome. It is even for like a almost not I want to say pixelated, but lower res graphic game. It is incredibly violent. So we didn't play for very long just because of that factor, but really really neat idea of kind of blending a twin stick shooter and an RPG almost like Diablo. Gameplay was fun and awesome, and I might go back to it sometime just by myself. Just seemed like kind of if you like the Diablo or Torchlight or different things like that, this is a really more fast-paced version that was kind of really awesome, actually.
Yeah, I would definitely be downloading that if I had more time for sure. I haven't had a whole lot of time to game lately, but the Ascent looks really great. All right, next up, I think we'll be shifting gears over to Boomstick Syndicate. Amanda, boy, she has really catapulted herself here
Mhm.
in the last quarter on the back of three games. I'm going to start with the lowest scored one, Chris Tales, with oh gosh, only a 76. So pretty good there. So the second game she has is Scarlet Nexus, getting her a 79. I believe that's a Bandai Namco anime sort of joint. And then lastly, Death's Door, an 87 from I don't think it came completely out of nowhere. There was some buzz going on, but boy, it tickled reviewers just in the right spot, I think.
Yeah.
And is coming in as the second best scored game of the year. So really catapulting Amanda. What do you think of her team right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's really impressive. Scarlet Nexus was a game that I actually kind of followed a little bit when they first announced, and um, I thought it looked really neat. Again, maybe not for everybody, but for some people. And then Chris Tales kind of only started hearing about it the week before, but Death's Door was the one that, I mean, I think Devolver is a studio that, very well known for these types of games, but I don't certainly didn't expect an 87. I mean, I thought an 82 or somewhere in there would be amazing. And then, again, to be second best game of the year is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it seems like Death's Door has burst through the scene as the indie game to play this year, kind of the way Hollow Knight did the year it came out. So I am. We were talking a little bit again pre-show about this one. I'm definitely going to be picking this. I'm gonna shell out the cash and pick this one up, even though it's not on Game Pass. I'm going to be playing some Death's Door. So I'm super happy for Amanda and her team. She has put herself in a great spot coming into the second half of the year. So we'll see how she does. Okay,
Yeah, and
moving. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say real fast. I remember when we drafted. So many of her titles are games that people had not heard of, and she's managed to find a lot of these uh, really big indie hits. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, she still has Chorus, which is still to come. I believe it's still on track for this year. Her
Yep,
second round pick. That
Garden
game.
Story as well.
Yeah, yeah. So that game looks good. So yeah, she's and she, yeah, so she's ready to roll. Okay, beatdown games. Nate McKeever. Let me go over to my doc here. Nate has 3 games released this quarter. So he has Near Replicant an 83, Returnal getting an 86, also one of the highest games scored so far this year, and then Neo: The World Ends with You getting him an 82. So look out, Nate McKeever coming out for Alex. Really, I won't say the only competition out there for Alex, but he's in second place. He's put himself in a great position. So Neo: The World Ends with You, Returnal, Near Replicant. Pick one. Which one do you want to talk about?
Oh gosh, I think we're gonna talk about Returnal later. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, sure.
I think Neo, The World Ends with You is one of those games like it's Square Enix, right? I think.
Yeah.
Man, just one of those almost in the line of like Chrono Trigger or things like that, where it's they're known for Final Fantasy, but they've got some series out there. Bravely Default's another one that he picked up earlier in the year. Really, really great RPG games that are quite a bit different, but review really, really well.
Yeah. Yeah, he has just done he being Nate has just done a really good job of picking up um what I would say are kind of these double A releases, and they're really
Mhm.
hitting for him. Getting these,
Yeah.
if you get over an 80, you should be pretty happy. Unless it's like, Starfield or, Resident Evil 2 or something like that, like if you get an 80 or above, you should be pretty happy.
Oh yeah.
Um so he has done that consistently. Let me move over to the rest of his roster. So yeah, Bravely Default got him a 78, so that's his
Yeah.
worst game so far. And then the other 3 games are all he has left. So he's got some.
I think he picked up Metroid Dread this quarter too. So a
He
huge
did.
pickup off. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we don't spend enough time on pickups and will not releases and things of that nature. Real quick, what do you think about? What was your impression of Metroid Dread when you saw the E3 footage?
So I am not a old Game Boy. Like I'm used to like Super Metroid and things like that. But my son has put so much time into is it Zero Fusion? Is that
I guess.
Metroid Fusion? Something whatever this is the direct sequel of.
Hmm.
He went nuts. And I you look at games like Axiom Verge and things like that. That Metroidvania, the 2D Metroidvania genre is still alive and well. And I think if they capture that, it's going to score really, really, really big.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, agreed. I was chatting with Nate just the other day, and he was actually expressing some slight pickup remorse. I mean, I think he's still like he believes in the game, but he's like, there's a world where this game kind of doesn't deliver, and I think I can sort of agree with him there. But we'll have to see. If that game got like a straight up 70, that wouldn't shock me at all, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it could certainly hit and get an 85 too, and that wouldn't shock me either, I guess. But yeah, sort of a wide array of outcomes there. Okay, let's move on to Marshall M. Powerful. And I believe the only game he has this quarter is Biomutant. Am I mistaken? No, that's it. Just the
Yeah,
one
yeah.
Biomutant. Um, Has it been every year so far, Jeff?
Yeah, I think I picked it up 2 years in a row, and
Uh-huh.
then I didn't pick it up this year. And lo and behold, this is the year it releases. But looks like I actually dodged a bullet. So,
Well, man, this I was so excited for Biomutant to finally see the score for it for this game. And man, as it was building up to release, I thought it was gonna hit well.
oh, me too. Yeah,
And here we are at 67 is what the score was. So -3 points for Marshall. Not what you want, obviously. He's
yeah.
got two other great releases so far this year: Little Nightmares 2 and It Takes Two, what tied for best game of the year. And so he's not necessarily hurting. He's still got Back for Blood coming, which I am regretting more and more each day, counter picking that as the days go by. He's got Humankind still around the corner. He's got Call of Duty 2021. So even though Biomutant did hit for him, he still can make some waves, certainly. And depending what he does with those last two roster spots, he could be knocking on Alex's door. So
One thing I will say about my Biomutant also is it does remind me a little bit of Outriders. And I have friends who swear by this game, and they say it's game of the year. So they put tons and tons of time in. So I think it just failed to hit with the larger audience. But I think if you're into that, it still might be a really really good game despite that score.
Yeah, it did seem like it had a lot of neat ideas. I'm not sure how the execution was. I haven't played it myself, but I see that spark and potential there for sure. Okay, and excuse me, Alex is up next. He's just got so many good games.
Yeah.
So yeah, a whopping 5 games released this last quarter. The first one being the much anticipated and his round 1 pick, Resident Evil Village. I'll say it pretty much delivered an 84. You can't be
Yeah.
sad about that at all. So Resident Evil 8 Village delivering for him there. Guilty Gear Strive, what the heck, getting him an 85, outdoing his number 1 draft pick, coming in later for him. And then he also has Disgaea 6, Defiance of Destiny, which got him a 73, and Monster Hunter Stories 2, which got him an 81. So man, I think of course the main thing that he has going for him is that a lot of his games have come out.
Yeah.
It's
I
not.
think
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think Blaster Master Zero came out as well. Yeah, that was just a couple
Yes,
days ago.
excuse me. Pardon me. Yes, I did leave that one off. I said 5 and then mentioned off 4 games. So yeah, Blaster Master Zero got him an 80. So he's got a lot of games that have gotten scored. Uh, only Evil Genius 2 has under an 80 for him.
Oh,
So
and this guy.
excuse me, and this guy, pardon me, man, I'm all over the place tonight. Thank you
No,
for
it's
the
okay.
corrections,
It's all
Jeff.
right.
So yeah, Alex is really just hitting on all cylinders though at the end of the day. So let's chop up his team real quick. What do you think is fueling his success so much?
Well, I mean, games that like we talked about, Resident Evil, I think was right where we expected it, but almost everything else seems a lot higher than I would have expected. I'm going to point out my team again. He also hit on what might be the greatest counter pick of all time in Balan Wonderland, and
Yeah.
that helped a whole lot. But yeah, just consistently high scores on games where you may not have expected. I know the Monster Hunter series is popular, but neither Rise or Stories are what I consider like the main line of that game. So great scores for games that not. Blaster Master Zero 3 was a game that I didn't even know about.
I know it.
And then 10 points out of that. That's insane.
Well, Alex went and double dipped into the Monster Hunter franchise and came away with 29 total points. So that's just, man, he knows his Monster Hunter. So we'll all be ready. That we'll all know now, Alex, in future drafts that the Monster Hunter is the way to go.
Steal them before he can get them.
Did he get Iceborne and Monster Hunter World as well?
Ooh,
or
I don't remember. Somebody had Iceborne. I remember that.
Yeah, I do remember it being in the league. I don't remember who had it. Oh well. Goodness, enough Alex talk. He's probably going to win the whole league, so let's just move on. Bearded brethren, Adam is up next, and really, I think Adam only had no, he had 2 games. So he had new Pokemon Snap, which released back in April, got him an 80, and then he also had the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, which just released just a week or two ago. Got him an 85. Quite the score there for Ace Attorney Chronicles. Um, so yeah, newcomer Adam making waves. We had the recent drama over the Horizon Forbidden West. Will it, won't it release? How are we doing in the league? But let's break down Adam's team. How you thinking? How do you thinking Adam is doing right now?
Yeah, I think still really good when you. I mean, I know he has the couple will not releases, which again the Horizon is the debatable one, but he still has a lot of titles, and we talked about not Marshall, Alex, and just consistently getting those 80s and above. When you look at Adam's team, it's right there too. So if he can fill those slots of games that aren't coming out. I think he's still in the hunt for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. He keeps talking about that game, The Gunk. We'll see if it delivers for him. But he's got the likes of Dying Light 2, Far Cry 6, Lost Judgment, Mario Party Superstars, which that could be, it could go either way, I suppose.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, unfortunately, he got hit with the double whammy of Horizon Forbidden West and Stray, pretty much both getting delayed till next year around the same time. So he was kind of put in a dilemma of kind of how to handle those. But I guess we're recording this on a Wednesday night. I think we'll find out this coming up Saturday what he drops, but I guess it doesn't really matter. Um,
I think the one thing to watch with his team is actually his counter pick, because I think Psychonauts 2 could wind up being really good, and that might hurt him a lot.
yeah, I think it's certainly going to be a positive score, right? I mean,
I think so.
I can't imagine it gets under a 70. So yeah, I think he's got to watch out for Psychonauts 2. I've got to watch out for Back for Blood. And what else is sitting out there? I guess Nate kind of picked my Halo Infinite. We got to wait a little while to see how that one pans out. But anyway, okay. So we've looked at everyone's teams. I guess just kind of overall thoughts on the games released this quarter, Jeff, and sort of anything that you've played or were surprised by that you want to just sort of kind of single out that was on anyone's roster.
So I'm going to call out my own negligence and sleeping on Returnal. I'm going to be. This is a game that I saw the first. Was it E3 last year that they had the cinematic trailer or one of the big game shows, and I remember just thinking, man, that game looks awful. It didn't jump out at me at all. I watched some I mean not descriptions of what the game was, but like gameplay trailers. And I thought, man, it just looks like another shooter. And it didn't pop up on my radar again until they started talking about some of the new features with the PlayStation 5 controller. And I started digging into the idea of it being a roguelike and how the game works. And I thought, oh man, this actually looks really cool. And it wound up being obviously a huge hit. So I think a lot of people knew that long before I did. I don't know that I would have picked it up, but I certainly wouldn't have slept on it like it was. It first game that has made me regret not having a PlayStation 5.
Yeah, I want to say Nate picked up in the 4th round at the draft. I want to say I was like 2 spots away in the draft from Nate, and I was going to grab it on the way back if he didn't grab it. Because I mean, he got great value getting scoring an 86 for a 4th round game. That's fantastic. So
I had considered counterpicking it, so I'm really glad I did not.
good stuff. Good stuff. Anything else you want to highlight? Maybe something you've played this quarter, or just anything else that just sort of jumped out to you.
D&D Dark Alliance was man, another one of those games that scored really poorly, and it kind of like we talked about with Outriders. Man, I don't know I don't know what the idea was, but released without multiplayer, which is a huge facet for that game. And it's all I don't know that I'd say it's a good game, but it's already better than when it released. I think it suffered a lot from just a lot of hype and then failure to really deliver a finished game.
Mm-hmm.
It's on Game Pass, so it's free. I might encourage people to check it out there. But it's definitely it's better than a 58. But they just chose to release it in unfinished format, and I think game developers have got to start learning not to do that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's a real shame about Dark Alliance. That could have been a real kind of low key gem for Game Pass.
Yeah,
Yeah, they didn't quite hit with that one.
and
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I think that Microsoft really hyped that. Yeah, there was so much advertising and a lot of pushing of the Forgotten Realms world and Drizzt and all that sort of stuff. And
Yeah, and D&D, I'd argue, is as popular as ever.
Yeah,
I feel like it's only gaining steam. So the IP is solid, I think. So yeah, it's a shame that one kind of missed. Personally, I was able to play both Returnal and Ratchet and Clank this past quarter, and I think both those scores are quite deserving. Both of them had just a smidge of not jank, just some bugs that were slightly uncharacteristic of a Sony first party game. So like dipping down to the 80s for sure makes sense for me, but otherwise very good games. Returnal is my game of the year currently, halfway through the year. So yeah, I fell in love with that game, went down the rabbit trail. And I've got here on the notes, we're sort of kind of already crossing over here a little bit, Jeff. I've got surprising game of the quarter or game that you wanted and missed out on. And what I've got here squarely for me is Death's Door at 87. I mean, I don't see how, well, I won't say how no one can see it coming. Amanda obviously saw it coming, but I mean, an 87, wow. Just, completely missed on that one. And I want to highlight real quick, these sort of, again, I guess Death's Door is another one, but these under the radar games, but they're gonna hit, like Guilty Gear Strive, like Ace Attorney Chronicles. I think we as league members need to realize, and Adam's done a great job sort of getting on that bandwagon of like, okay, let me get out of what I think is a good game and what traditionally reviews well. And sort of these type of games got them an 85. Man, that's fantastic. So stuff like that is like, I feel like as a league manager, I need to get better at that sort of stuff.
Yeah, Guilty Gear, I think, is one of those games that probably the vast majority of gamers does not have any clue, but has just a massive cult following. And I will say with Ace Attorney, man, Nintendo has pushed out so many games this year that are not like the next Mario or the next Zelda or something like that, but they're spin-offs of those. And man, Ace Attorney Chronicles was one of the ones that like I saw the announcement and I just thought, it's another Mario Golf or Pokemon Snap. And well, Pokemon Snap I was hyped about, but I was like, oh, you know what? And then it snuck up on me with how fast it came out. And I was like, oh yeah, that would have been a good one to get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's easy as the year progresses, and it's such a long, slow year. I say slow in quotes, I guess. And you just sort of forget to like go out there and keep looking at games. Like, what else is out there? Oh, and you'd be surprised. I remember looking and thinking like, oh, Sifu's out there. I want that. But again, I didn't pick it up. I don't think it's coming out this year, but you'd be surprised what's just sitting out there,
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so definitely go out there to the waiver wire and just check from time to time, and maybe you'll remember like, oh yeah, I did want to bid on that game, and maybe I should go ahead and do that now.
Yeah, I think there's games that either fly under the radar, like again, Guilty Gear, just because so many people are unaware or haven't really played, and then other games that they get announced and nobody really cares, and then as more and more is shown, then the hype starts to build, but we don't think about it because we're like, oh yeah, that was already announced a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Well, Jeff, we've about chopped it up for this quarter, but looking ahead, we've still got some great games that are coming out, still to come in 2021. So, what are a couple of games that are coming up in the next quarter or beyond that have you excited that you're curious to see how it scores?
Yeah, so I mean, we talked about 12 Minutes and Starmancer, which are both two games that like I'm really excited about that come out next quarter. Deathloop is one that and I really love the Dishonored Prey Arcane. I mean, I feel like they've made some really awesome
Mhm.
first person shooters that aren't in the typical first person shooter. Honestly, remind me a lot of like Half-Life 2 when I first played it. Just a really story driven type game. And Deathloop could be one of those, maybe. It's
Mhm.
got some interesting, gameplay mechanics, so we'll have to see. And then I don't know about hype, but Diablo 2 is one, we were talking about Metroid Dread. Diablo 2 is one of those games I'm like, man, this could score really, really good, or it could be, was it the Warcraft remastered that Blizzard just really bombed the
Yeah.
remake?
Yeah, I'm really unsure about both of those games you just mentioned, Diablo 2 and Deathloop. I think they could swing really wildly either way. Obviously, the Activision Blizzard stuff that I just mentioned earlier is shrouding the Diablo release, probably. So I
Yeah,
don't know how reviewers are going to feel about that. I think if that were not the case, I would feel much more confident about Diablo 2. And then Deathloop, this is like my curious game of the year. Like, I am so curious to see how this scores. I really don't know. I mean, I hope the game's fantastic. I'm not personally a big Arcane a fan, but I know that many gamers are very passionate about the Dishonored series, and have a lot of love for the developer. So I'm curious to see what happens with Deathloop. Very highly anticipated as far as just a curiosity standpoint. I doubt I'm going to pick it up personally, at least not right away. Um, Other couple of games that I'm interested in, obviously, Kane the Bridge of Spirits. The indie game, quote unquote, looks like a pretty big budget game to me. Coming out for PS5 and PS4 in a month or two, and then this is I guess both those were personal games of mine. WarioWare, Get It Together. I love WarioWare. I'm so glad this franchise is back. It is like there's not many games that are in the comedy genre, and this is one of them.
yeah, yeah.
And just so I'm just rooting for it. I don't It may get a 72, whatever, but I want it on my roster. I want it to get an 80 or above, and so I'm rooting for WarioWare.
Well, we talked about Metroid Dread and just like if they can capture the magic of those original 2D games, I think WarioWare is the same way. Like if they capture that similar style, it's been a while since we've had a WarioWare, but if they can capture that just humor and I mean really lighthearted, kind of make you laugh at yourself type thing, I think it will be a big hit. So it's just whether
Mhm.
they can do that or not.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. All right, Jeff. Well, like I said, we are pretty much done here. We've chopped it up. Thank you so much for joining
Oh
me
man, thanks for
tonight.
having me.
I appreciate you're a valuable member of the league. You've been with me since day one. In the first iteration of the league, and yeah, just glad to have you around all the time. You're just a joy to kind of interact with in the thread, and yeah, just it's always fun.
I love the whole group. It's definitely like I know it's weird because it's the whole year, but just all the interactions are one of the highlights of my entire year.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I love doing it, and you're a big part of it. So appreciate you being
Thank you.
with us tonight. And yeah, everyone else, good luck out there on the waiver wire, and we will see you next time. Okay, see you guys.
See ya.